What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's episode of The Sports Sermon. We are brought to you by Scooch, the most functional phone case on the market. Check out ScoochCase.com to get yours today and use the code SPORTS18, sports with a Z, of course, to get a 10% discount on your order. Stay tuned till the end for a special Scooch giveaway as well. But now, today's episode. So we are here today to talk about the Detroit Pistons. They might be one of the most boring teams in the NBA. They never really make moves, but the one move they did make was Blake Griffin this past offseason, or this past season at the trade deadline. They signed Dwayne Casey. They didn't have a draft pick. Just a very boring team most years. But I'm here with Dylan Staggy, longtime Clipper fan, longtime Blake Griffin fan. Jason Gandhi here. Dylan, the Pistons made the trade for Blake Griffin last trade deadline and yet did not make the playoffs. Do you think it's a Drummond-Griffin problem where that duo is never going to work out, or is it just one bad year?
I don't think that Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond are the problem, and you'll hear me say that a lot throughout this podcast. The problem is that there's a lot of money committed to those two guys, and it's already tough to recruit players when you're the Pistons. I mean, you're a small market team, and they haven't made the playoffs in a while.
And you're just the Pistons. Like, who goes like, oh, I want to go play for the Pistons? Unless you're from Michigan.
Yeah, so it definitely can't help to have no money anyway. I think they fit fine together. I mean, the problem is the team around them is just so bad.
They're so bad.
And I don't think Griffin and Drummond, they're not like Katie and Steph. They're not going to will the Pistons to the playoffs.
Come on, Drummond and Blake Griffin, Katie and Steph, I really thought there were similarities there.
I wish Pistons fans, because I do love Blake Griffin, but...
Yeah. I think they have potential to work if Griffin can be a consistent stretch four. He's a 32% three-point shooter, but he has shown progress shooting 35% in this past season that he played with Detroit. If he does that, then Drummond will be able to dominate in the paint more and then really open things up. They just need an above-average guard to really open things up for Detroit. Then they are both lob targets because both can get up and slam it. Then the point guard can really penetrate the defense, and then they'll really be able to kill teams with those twin towers. But until they get a really good guard, I'm worried about how it's going to work out. You look at the Pistons last year. They needed Drew Holiday with DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis.
You mean the Pelicans?
What did I say?
Pistons.
Sorry, yeah, the Pelicans. The Pistons, I'm sorry, but I would never put Reggie Jackson in that category. I do not like Reggie Jackson's game. I really think they need somebody that is a solid point guard that can really do something, whether that's in the draft or that's in free agency. I don't care. It doesn't need to be a star. It just needs to be an above-average guy to be able to do something. Their only signings this year, Zaza Pachulia and Glenn Robinson. They did none of that.
Well, maybe Zaza Pachulia can just hurt the best player on every team.
They'll hurt Katie and Steph. You'll tell them how to be Katie and Steph, and Drummond and Blake Griffin are the Warriors. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much.
Smith, Steph Curry.
Yeah, I can agree with the comparison to the Pelicans, though. Obviously, they're just a worse version.
They are literally the poor boy Pelicans from last year.
Yeah. Sorry, Pistons fans. I don't mean to hate because, I do love Blake Griffin, but...
we kind of do mean to hate you. Literally, like, who wants to watch the Pistons?
They're just Pelicans Jr.
And not, like, I cannot emphasize how boring they are. They got Jose Calderon this year, so if that's your above-average point guard, by all means, you're good. That's
10 years ago.
Yeah, when you play for the Raptors. But it's just, like, there's nothing about this team where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch the Pistons play tonight. Like, sweet. We might see it. We might see one dunk. That's pretty cool. Every night. Like, we might see that, like, oh, that's pretty cool.
5 dunks.
That are all cool?
Yes.
All right, calm down. So, literally the best highlight might be Zaza hurting people. They have so many dunkers on this team now that we say that. Drummond, Blake Griffin, they got Glenn Robinson. Didn't he win the same dunk contest?
I believe so. It was down year, though.
Yeah, Stanley Johnson can get it up. Well, I guess there will be highlights, but I promise I will not be watching a Pistons game unless they're playing the Lakers this year. That's for sure. Let's move into another signing they made. Dwayne Casey gets hired to the Pistons. How much of their potential success is credited to him, or is it back to that talent that just didn't have enough time to mesh?
Well, I would give a lot of credit to Dwayne Casey if he's able to make the playoffs with the Pistons, because
there's just so many guys on the roster. Reggie Jackson, Reggie Bullock, Stanley Johnson. Those three are going to be the projected starters right now. They've just not been able to take that next step.
Do you think Stanley gets to start? I know that's kind of not what we're talking about, but you think Stanley still gets to start? 4 years now, I think it is.
I mean,
just doing absolutely nothing.
It's him or Glenn Robinson, and I would think about both of those guys kind of about the same. But I mean, these guys have just not been able to take that next step, and so I would give a lot of credit to Casey if he's able to get those guys to take the next step and for the Pistons to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this kind of reminds me a lot of a flipped Raptors team. Like, you just flip their best players being bigs instead of guards. Like, Stanley Johnson reminds me a lot of OG Anunoby. I mean, I guess it's the other way around. Because they're both just really good at defense. I mean, obviously he's not as good. I'm just saying, like, he's a really good defensive player, but just cannot score. Then you look at their guards, it's kind of where they fall off. Like, with the Raptors, the bigs is kind of where they fell off. I don't know. I think if Dwayne Casey gets into the playoffs, obviously he deserves credit, but I think part of it's a matter of timing. I mean, they only had 20 to 30 games together. I think Blake played 25 maybe in Detroit, something like that. So with the coach of the year coming in, yes, he deserves a lot of credit, but don't discount the value of time together. If Drummond and Griffin have gotten more chemistry, they figure each other out, then you get Reggie Jackson. Maybe he has an up year. I mean, he's so not good, but it is what it is. I think you can't really pick one to say, like, oh, that's why they were good. If they are, I think it has to be a combination of both of them. So, the Pistons have been very awkward and mediocre, just not great the last couple of years. They tried to splash things up. They traded for Blake Griffin, still didn't make the playoffs. Is that to be expected again, and what do you see for the Pistons next year?
I mean, I think you know what you're getting from Griffin and Drummond if both of those guys are healthy, and I think that would put them near a playoff spot if they're able to stay healthy all year long. They'll definitely be fighting for one. Right now, I would put them on the outside, maybe in the 9 to 10 range. But I definitely, it wouldn't be out of this world for the Pistons to make the playoffs. If Blake Griffin is able to play a whole season, then I would say they have a decent chance.
Yeah, I mean, some people do think Drummond and Griffin are enough to make the playoffs. I don't. I see them 36, 39 wins, just outside the playoffs. Probably a pick within like 10 to 13 range in next year's draft. I don't know. I can't get behind a team that doesn't have guards in a guard-heavy league. Like, the bigs are kind of fading out in the NBA, and they have two big, long bigs with depth at the big position. Like, get some guards.
I mean, if Dwayne Casey is able to get those guards to really take the next step in their development, I mean, he's there too. I don't think he's a perfect fit. Like he wouldn't be enough to complete them.
No, but play the Klay Thompson role. Figure out your shot and just knock down shots. Like, if he can be a 3-and-D, like a very good 3-and-D guy, I mean,
that would be good for the Pistons. But I also think that they need a distributor, kind of point guard like the Pelicans. Again, going back to that comparison, they had a guy like Rajon Rondo who could dish the ball to both Griffin and Drummond to
they have Ish Smith, bro. Ish Smith, Rajon Rondo. I mean, it's just very an underwhelming team. I don't know. I can't get excited for the Pistons this year. I'm sorry, Detroit. Sorry, fans of the Pistons. It just is. There's nothing about this roster where I'm real excited about. I do like Dwayne Casey, though. I really like his coaching style. So maybe that does change things up. Maybe they're a sleeper. Dylan, if you had to put your money on it, are the Pistons making the playoffs?
I would lean towards no right now, but I would say I'm.
You're not shocked if they do?
60-40 probably.
Yeah, like if they do go and you're not like, oh, I'm shocked the Pistons made it.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to Drummond and Griffin. Drummond figured out his free throws and can do something outside of 5 feet. I mean, Drummond and Griffin isn't that much different than DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin.
But
it's
the
very
Clippers
similar.
Had so much depth.
Oh, yeah, they Chris Paul.
A year ago.
Yeah. I mean, it just is what it is. The Pistons are not going to be great. We'll see, though. Motor City hopefully gets out of that mediocrity stage and can either get good or, I guess, rebuild. But that's going to do it. Thank you for listening. I mentioned in the opener, staying tuned for a Scooch giveaway. It is going to be, if you comment or subscribe before the end of the month, we will be giving out a Scooch case. That's scoochcase.com. Use that code SPORTS18, SPORTZ18, to get a 10% discount on all Scooch products. Dylan, you got anything else? Nope.
Get your Scooch case. Love Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I will agree with half of that. Go get your Scooch case. That's going to do it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys later.